hands either to your knees or folded in your lap, whatever is more comfortable for you. And just take a moment and allow yourself to really arrive. The body is here, but allow the awareness, the focus, the full presence of being to also arrive. Allow the awareness to become one with your breath. Just draw that awareness gently to the breath. Don't try to change the breath. But just allow yourself to become fully immersed in that awareness as you breathe in and breathe out like the waves of the ocean. If the mind wanders to a sound or a sensation or a thought, don't worry. Just draw it back. Just gently bring it back to your breath. There will always be sounds. There will always be distractions. But allow that awareness to stay anchored and grounded, anchored in the breath. Slowly and gently, bring the palms of your hands together at chest level. Rub them gently against each other. And place the palms of your hands over your closed eyes. Slowly and gently lower your hands and open your eyes. Welcome to Satsang. Welcome to our new Satsang garden. We just shifted here this week. It's more spacious with somewhat fewer things going on around all of the walls. So we're very, very happy to be in this new beautiful garden area. As always, we'll start with a question that's come in advance from our global family from around the world, and then take any questions that anyone here might have. When is the appropriate time to start a spiritual path? Yesterday. If you're not already on a spiritual path, exactly right here, right now. You know, most of us have this internal habit that we start things on good days. So if it's a big thing we do, New Year's or my birthday, or we say, okay, Monday morning I'm going to start. The dilemma with that is, it's beautiful to have a day, but the dilemma is then if on Monday it doesn't happen, or you start Monday and Tuesday it's over. Well, then you've got to wait till the next Monday to start it again. And that's why I'm all in favor of auspicious days and auspicious opportunities when that day happens to be the auspicious day. But I'm not in favor of waiting days or weeks or months to start something just for the right moment to arise. The moment that you realize I should be on a spiritual path, that's the right moment to start. That is the auspicious moment. And of course today, we find ourselves on actually such an auspicious day. This is the day of Dussehra. It's the day of letting go of that which keeps us separate from God. In the Christian tradition, there's a sense around, and I'm far from a scholar on the Christian faith, but there's a sense around the internal aspect of who we are being sinful. A sense that core of who we are based on our birth lineage is sinful. And that there's things that we need to do in order to attain salvation, saving. One of the things for me that has always touched me so deeply and inspired me so much about Sanatana Dharma is that the teaching is actually very different. The teaching says the core of who you are is divine, is pure, is perfect, is one with God, is pure consciousness. But Maya kicks in, illusion kicks in. You over-identify with the physical body, with its stories, with its roles. And that leads to anger and grudges and lust and greed and jealousy and all of those vices, pride. But these are not aspects of sinfulness on the inside or evil on the inside. They're aspects of simply ignorance that forgot how divine, how full, how whole, how complete you are. And so on this day of Dussehra, we celebrate Lord Ram killing this demon with 10 heads, representing all of these different aspects of our ego, of our vices, right? The anger and the lust and the greed and the pride and the envy. And that symbol, as we were talking about on the banks of Ganga, is actually for all of us. The stories from the scriptures are not just beautiful stories of things that happened in history, but it's about now. And so if you're looking now to start a spiritual path, it's a perfect day. And even if you're on a spiritual path, but you're looking to go deeper, or you're on a deep spiritual path, but you still find yourself plagued by any aspect of this, this is the day when the energies of the universe align to help you let go of all of that. So this is the right moment. This is exactly the right moment to begin or to deepen your path. And then if, because you're human, tomorrow or the day after you find yourself acting not in alignment with your path, well, that'll be exactly the right moment to begin again. You don't have to wait till you're sitting back in Rishikesh, back in Satsang. The moment you realize you've gone off the path, just come back. It's like in that very, very short, just centering, guided meditative experience from the beginning. Right? Our minds wander. It's what they do. It's the nature of the mind. And we just bring it back. Wanders again, we bring it back. And slowly, slowly, as we practice it actually as meditation for longer periods of time, we become able to be grounded in awareness. Whether the awareness is of the breath, the awareness is of the being, the awareness is of a mantra. Whatever we focus that awareness on, and then ultimately it becomes just awareness. And yeah, sometimes the awareness is aware of the breath, and sometimes it's aware of a mantra or something else. But we actually become anchored just in that awareness. But the practice along the way gives us this beautiful technique of just coming back. Just coming back. Don't yell at yourself. Don't berate yourself. Don't criticize yourself. Don't tell yourself stories of whose fault it is that you got distracted. He came home and slammed the door. I've told him 1,000 times not to slam the door, but he did. Ruined my meditative awareness. We tend to make up stories about things. But instead of that, just bring it back. No stories, no judgment, no analysis, not where it's gone. Just bring it back. And you'll find that that becomes a beautiful technique on your spiritual path the rest of the time as well. Oh, lost your temper? Okay. Just come back. Got sucked up for a moment into jealousy? Just come back. Sucked up for a moment into greed or envy? It's okay, just bring it back. No need to criticize yourself, no need to tell yourself a big story about it. Just come back. Just come back. So, right now is the exact perfect moment to start. And whatever moment you discover that you're no longer on it is the exact perfect moment. to just come back. And we just keep coming back. Questions? Here. Yes.
I know vocabulary does matter a lot.
What matters?
Vocabulary does matters a lot. But how the use of vocabulary is connected to the spiritual well-being and how to use the correct vocabulary, because maybe in our college days we tend to use certain types of vocabulary with our friends or with our fellow mates that not actually meaning to it, but actually we tend to use certain types of words without being conscious, and that is becoming habit for college goers or for the school, because we can't control ourselves when we are with our friends to use certain types of words that we know are not good, but at the same time we are not finding its meaning. We doesn't mean it what we are saying. We just say it and we don't drive its meaning.
Okay, great question. And by the way, this is an affliction of not only youth in college, this is an affliction of everyone. So many people say, oh, I didn't mean that. Right? You say something, somebody takes offense. You say, नहीं, वो तो मेरा मतलब नहीं था. तो क्या मतलब था फिर? So many of us constantly are saying, oh, I didn't mean this, I didn't mean that. Our words are a very precious power. This varni, this power of speech, is a great power. And it's not something to take lightly. We have become just habitual talkers. Meaning we don't pay any attention to what we say at all. We just keep talking. Because it's just become a habit. We just talk and we talk and we talk. And when we don't actually have something to say, we talk about nothing. That's when we end up saying things we don't mean, hurting people, hurting ourselves, and developing habits that, as you say, later on, we've come into this habit. It's also a huge dissipation of energy. That ojas in the body, that pran, that sacred life force, these energies of the body, we're not supposed to just throw them away. And this habitual just talking is actually a great waste of the energy of the being. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan Krishna says, tapas of speech, right speech, is that which is true, kind, and beneficial. True, kind, and beneficial. And I've also, in recent years, heard some other teachers add a fourth criterion. Does it improve upon the silence? That when you're going to speak something, you actually have to ask yourself, is it true? Is it kind? Is it beneficial? And does it improve upon the silence? And if any of those four answers is no, well, then we have this great gift of being silent. Silence is not a weakness. Silence does not mean कि कुछ है ही नहीं कहने का. Silence is a strength. Like fasting. Fasting is not a weakness. Fasting doesn't mean that I can't figure out what to eat. Fasting is a strength. It means that even with the call of my body saying eat, I've made a decision. I'm fasting. In the same way, when from inside it's saying, say this, say that, say this, and we are choosing silence because we know that what we're saying isn't true, kind, beneficial. That's a great strength. Now, in college, but also amidst any kind of social situation. There's, as you say, vocabularies. There's words that get used, slang words, colloquial words, profanity. And as you say, you don't mean it in that way. But what you'll find is, sadly, it does become a habit. It's an impression upon us. Because when you say something, you're listening to it as well. You're hearing yourself say it, which means that you now, on a very subtle level, identify as, yeah, I'm someone who talks like that. And that becomes a very detrimental self-identification. You mentioned, when I'm with my friends, we don't have any control over what we say. So, you're a spiritual young man. I've had the wonderful joy of seeing you here for the last several days. You're a really beautiful spiritual young man. Don't let yourself off the hook quite so easily of just, well, though it wasn't in my control, I have no control. That's a really detrimental pattern to set up for your life. Because if you tell yourself now, well, when I'm around my friends, I don't have control over my vocabulary. Well, then what's to say you don't have control over what you drink, or what you smoke, or what you eat, or what you do? Then these become excuses throughout our lives of, yeah, I did it because I was with those people and they were doing it. तो सब पी रहे थे. पीना तो पड़ा. And it just ends up becoming these ways of thinking that who I am is just part of this group. Groups are wonderful. A sangha is wonderful. It's very important. But you need to maintain your own values in that sangha. And in the same way that if you're a pakka vegetarian and they're eating meat, you're not going to say, well, to khana pada, I had to eat it, I had no control. Everybody was eating hamburgers. You would say, I'm a vegetarian. In the same way, let your speech become vegetarian. And if anybody likes you less because you're not using those vocabulary, they're not really friends to begin with. You don't have to become the guru of the group. I'm not saying you should start telling everybody else what to say. Don't say anything. They're not looking for a guru. Don't become theirs. Don't worry about it. Be their friend. But at least you use words that are in alignment with your own values. And if anybody says to you, why did you use that nice vegetarian word instead of this profanity? Well, then you should feel strong enough to say to them, I've decided that I like my speech to be vegetarian also. And if they give you a hard time about it, then as difficult as it is, that really becomes the time to reevaluate the friendships. In the same way that if they're drinking alcohol and you don't want to drink alcohol, and they pressure you and they make you feel badly for not drinking, well, that's not the right samaj. You want to be with friends who love and respect you for who you are. And so if it's troubling you, in such a way that you bring it in here because you know it's there, it's in your heart, it's troubling you. Speak from your heart. Use the words you want to use. There's plenty of words. The English language has plenty of words. The Hindi language has God knows how many more possible permutations. You've got 52 letters compared to our 26. Make up your own word. Invent a new word if you want. For something that could be used instead of that profanity. But don't allow yourself to get into a lifelong habit of, I have no control when I'm around my friends. Learn how to carry yourself. Otherwise, those habits become your character, and your character becomes your destiny. So you're literally starting to create a destiny. Words are things. Words are not just words. Words are an energy put out into the universe. There's a power to them. This is the power when we talk about the power of mantra. Well, it's not just what the mantra means. I mean, if you look at actually the meanings of most of the mantras we chant, most of them is basically just, oh, divine in this form with this name, I bow to you. That's pretty much the translation of almost all of the mantras, or different forms of the divine. But oh, divine in this form, fill in the blank, I bow to you. What's powerful about them is that alchemic power of the sound, the power of the word. That power of the word is huge. Grab it, use it. Don't find yourself out of control.
But how to revert back? How to revert back? Because when we remain silent, we give charge to other person to speak more.
Bolne do. Let them speak.
But I guess...
You mean like if you're in a fight with them?
Not in fight with them, but when we tend to remain silent, we are giving charge to other person to speak more about ourselves or more about what they are speaking.
So if you're finding yourself in a situation where you have to keep speaking just to keep the other person from speaking, I would reevaluate the friendship. If you're in a situation where you're looking for a way to make the other person essentially stop talking, that might be a really good moment to ask yourself, why am I even in this relationship? If I have to essentially overshout them, take back the control of this conversation, why are you wasting your time anyway? And by the way, just because someone's saying something doesn't mean that we have to respond or react. Let them speak. If you've got to be there, when they're done, you respond in your way of peace, love, truth, whatever you're anchored in, your values. But don't get yourself in situations where, because of some sense of responsibility or out of controlness of the relationship, unko chupana padega. These are not relationships you want to hold on to. Jahan chupana padega kisi ko. You want to be in relationships with people you want to listen to, not people you want to shut up. Okay? Yeah. Find yourself some good friends. Other questions? Yes. Yeah.
It's working. Happy Dussehra to all. Today is Dussehra. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
And the morning tea is good. Morning coffee is good. Last time you said morning coffee is good. Absolutely. Thank you.
Happy Dussehra. Other questions? Yes.
What if the perfectionism leads to disturbance and disturbance leads to being a quitter?
What if, can you just speak a little bit louder?
Yeah, sure. What if the perfectionism
Perfectionism,
leads to disturbance?
Okay.
And disturbance leads to, at a level when you become a quitter, you quit.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
what happens when perfectionism leads to such disturbance inside that you end up quitting? Perfectionism is actually a defense mechanism. We yearn for perfectionism. We learn for perfection, rather. We learn for perfection because inside of us we feel lacking in some way. And so that constant drive that everything has to be perfect. Everything I do has to be perfect. Everything everyone else does around me, for me, has to be perfect. This is actually a defense mechanism, keeping me from having to sit in my own humanity. Because the truth is, the only thing that's perfect is God. So on the core level, we're all perfect. Like every flower is perfect. Every tree is perfect. Everything in creation is perfect at the core. As our attachment to the body, to the story, to the role, to my identification, this false identification, as my body, as my career, as my role, as my bank account, as my name and fame, popularity, whatever, as that grows, well, I want it all to be perfect. Because striving for that perfection keeps me from having to sit in the awareness of my own humanity, of that sense inside me, which most of us have on some level or another, that I'm not quite good enough, not quite beautiful enough, not quite smart enough, not quite successful enough, not quite popular enough. And so if I can just make everything perfect, then I don't have to look at that inside of me. So I'm all for sincerity. We should do our best. But perfectionism actually is a virus. It does lead to disturbance. It does lead to suffering because almost nothing in life can't not be improved upon, right? I mean, the only things really that could be quote unquote perfect would be things that are like solutions to math problems, where there actually is only one absolute solution. Otherwise, you have a beautiful garden. It's gorgeous. Could you improve? Of course. You're a beautiful singer. You're amazing. Is somebody out there better than you are? Of course. You're baking a cake. It's wonderful. Is it the best cake ever baked? Does it have absolutely exactly the perfect blend of sugar to this, to that? Probably not. But does it matter? We give up our joy and our peace in this unfulfillable craving for perfection that'll really never come unless you're solving a math problem. Instead of that, as far as who you are, as far as your spiritual practice, realize you're already perfect. Because you're divine, your consciousness. What is not perfect about a soul? What is not perfect about consciousness? There's nowhere to improve. That which we're working on, our human existence, a skill we have, a task we're doing, a job we're doing, some aspect of our emotions. Well, it's great. Do your best. Learn as much as you can. Strive. This is what Bhagavan Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita. Stand up. Do it to the very best of your ability. But you don't have any control over that outcome. And as far as you're in your humanness, you're never going to be perfect. And so in our humanness, we have to work on letting go, of enjoying the journey, the work, striving, doing our best, fulfilling our highest potential, then raising the bar, going even higher. Why not? Keep learning, keep improving. Why not? It's beautiful. But never, ever, ever hold perfection as the goal. A, you'll never get there. B, it's going to constantly disturb you. And C, if you find that you are a serial perfectionist, it means there's probably some stuff inside you need to look at. Can you exhale into your humanity? Here I am. And yeah, I get angry sometimes. Here I am. Can't carry a tune. Here I am. You know? Good at some things, not good at other things. Touched by some things, not touched by other things. Here we all are in our humanity. And it's beautiful. Like any flower garden or fruit garden. Different types of fruit. Even within the same species of fruit, different sizes, some are juicier, some are less juicy. It's part of the package. But find within you that perfect divine, because that's the core of who you are. It's already perfect, regardless of your bank account, regardless of your career, regardless of your physical body, regardless of your followers on Facebook or your relationships or anything. Anchor into that and then enjoy your humanity. Do your best at the things you're good at. Learn to do things that you're not so good at. But give up the whole idea of perfection. The only thing you should try to be perfect about is your sincerity. If you can't do it sincerely, don't do it at all. Be perfect in your sincerity. That whatever you're doing, you're giving it your all. Bhakti is just in God's hands. Beautiful. I'm going to end here this evening. We got a late start with the late end of Aarti, and it is the final night of the Ram Leela. So I want to make sure that everyone has time to eat some dinner and get down to the banks of Ganga for the beautiful homecoming of Bhagwan Ram and Sita Ma back to Ayodhya after the war. So, a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Dussehra, beautiful Vijayadashmi, and I look so forward to being together again tomorrow. So much love to you all.